try things, try it, go, learn, be smart, learn. And then when it works, scale it.
Welcome to Top CMO. I'm chatting with Amy Halford, who is CMO at Thrive Pet Healthcare.
A very large portion of my time is thinking about employer brand. What is the culture? What is the value proposition for our team members and our veterinarians? Because that is going to be the brand experience that our customers have.
How much do you think about doing this in-house versus other agencies, other things that you do externally?
I think it's a hybrid of both. There's some things that's incredibly important to have internal resources. There's other things it's helpful to go get external expertise on. So I really do think it depends on the business and it depends on the role that marketing is playing. And then you can...
Welcome to Top CMO. I'm chatting with Amy Halford, who is CMO at Thrive Pet Healthcare. And Amy, talk about the nature of marketing in this type of business where you're driving people to individual hospitals. It's usually a moment of concern or crisis, or they need a hospital, or there's something that they need to do. How do you think about marketing in that context?
Yeah, I think when we look at the consumer and where the consumer's at in making this decision, pets in our lives right now are almost akin to children. And that's the level of emotional affinity and almost worry associated with it. So when we think about being in that moment in need for a potential client or a current client, it's really recognizing that they're coming to the space, at least from a digital perspective, with the air of discovery. They haven't made a decision yet. Trust is imperative. Trust is imperative. So when we think about how we show up in the world, we absolutely have to convey and communicate credibility and trust to the point where they essentially will hand over their child to us and feel confident that we're going to do the right thing for them. So what that looks like is understanding those moments and when people are searching, also understanding that they're not necessarily going to take our word for it. So Google ratings and reviews are wildly important. Testimonials are wildly important. Apps like Nextdoor, where people are saying, hey, for real, there's this vet down the street. And we're not in those private conversations, but they're looking for those referrals or that boost of confidence. That's how we think about it. It's not as aggressive as other kind of companies that I've worked in when you can go and I can create demand for yogurt. I can create demand for a new TV, all of these things that you're dreaming about. When it comes to your pet's healthcare, it is really in that moment of need. And it might be joy. I just got a new pet. Oh no, what do I do? Or it could be in a moment of crisis where there's something wrong. I need to find somebody. How do we make sure that we show up and give them all the cues and the signals that they are putting their loved one in great hands?
And how much do you focus on, let's say maybe the typical side of healthcare, whether it's pets or humans, is you sort of have, preventative healthcare, things you're doing proactively, and then you have, response to symptoms or sickness or disease or something else. So how do you think about your messaging in those two contexts? Do you focus on one or the other? Does it depend? Is there any seasonal variation to this?
Yeah, totally. We think about both, and the way that we approach both is differently. And even our business is set up to service those. So we're fairly unique at Thrive Pet Healthcare, where we're a combination of GP specialty or GP hospitals. That's what you typically associate with your vet, and specialty hospitals. So those are cardiologists, oncologists, surgeons, internal medicine. Our chief medical officer is a neurologist for pets. So we have in our company that broad array of services. So when we think about all of those different moments of truth for the consumer, we absolutely do show up, and we show up in different ways. So in crisis, we're typically in search, making sure that we have credibility, making sure our website provides information. Our new app that we've launched has an SOS button to help you find emergency care quickly if you need it. So we think about those moments differently than, to your point, perhaps preventative care, where we are reaching out to our clients and we're talking about vaccinations. We're talking about the value of lab work. So your pet can't tell you when they're in pain, and pets are actually really good at hiding pain. So how do we use diagnostics to make sure that your pet is healthy, and we're uncovering things early so that we can provide them better care over time? So we do run different campaigns for our clients in that against those particular opportunities. And there is, of course, seasonality. So parasiticides, heartworm, flea tick, that's typically a spring thing, but different times of the year in different parts of the country that could flare up. One of our new things, we're running a campaign right now that we're really excited about. One of our partners, Zoetis, they're a pharmaceutical company for pets. They have a new product out for osteoarthritis for dogs. And it's called Librela, and it's absolutely wonderful. We have so many of our clients saying, my dog was slow and in pain and moving around, and it's like they're a puppy again. And we learned the stat from Zoetis that about 40% of pets 2 years or older have some form of osteoarthritis. But pets don't want to show us that. They don't want to show us weakness because they're concerned that we're not going to love them anymore. We're not going to want them, or they won't be part of the pack. So being able to reach out to our clients and say, hey, here's this drug and it can help your pet live a great life. Here are the signs. We're seeing really good success with that, just helping our pet parents know that this is available and it can really improve the quality of life of their pet. So we do a lot of things. We do direct mail, we do CRM, we'll do social media marketing. We're doing a lot of stuff with our current clients, but then we also, again, are trying to be out there. For instance, my dog was diagnosed with cancer. Lots of people go onto Google and they start searching for cancer in dogs. How do we show up and say there's options? It's going to be okay. Here's what's available for radiology. Here's what oncology in pets look like. A lot of this is foreign for pet owners. Everybody knows it for human health, but it's just not as, people aren't as aware for pets.
Well, and how do you think about the consumer and the types of consumers? If there's and we've worked, in our history at Top, I think for like probably 40 or 50 different pet brands, a lot of kind of dog foods and dog treats. But you also think about, okay, there's the kind of consumer that, treats the pet like a child, right? It's a very different kind of consumer that maybe has a different view of the pet is a is like for the kids, or it's for something else, or has a different view of the family. So how do you think about kind of use cases, need states? Do you group your customers into different cohorts?
Yeah, we do. We just finished a refresh on our market segmentation study. And so we do segment, and we do find that there are people who have varying attitudes about pets. The one thing, though, I would say the segment of people that kind of look at a pet as maybe being more distant in pet ownership is actually pretty small. The vast majority of pet owners have a very strong affinity for their pet, and they desperately want to do the best that they can for their pet. Where they tend to be limited is on their discretionary spend, their access to care, or their level of confidence with owning a pet. And so knowing that those kind of psychographics live out there, we try to weave that into our messaging and our storytelling and look for the common denominators as much as possible in terms of what those folks are looking for from care. But then we also have different elements of our value proposition that we can play up. So for instance, there's a segment of consumers, they tend to have young families. They are a pet owner. They're super, super busy. They desperately want all the good things for their pet. They tend to overinvest in things like supplements, behavioral training, like all of the things surrounding pet care in addition to pet care. And their real big pain point is time and lack of confidence. And so we look at things like our app that can help them. We look at things like we are doing some work around televisits, and teletriage. How do I get the support when I need it? They're looking for all-in-one support when they need it. So we look at our own offerings and we try to tailor those messages as much as possible to appeal to those different segments and rotating the messaging where it makes sense in that user journey.
And where do you find that, kind of pet health and wellness is very analogous to human health and wellness, and where does it really differ? What is the similarities and what are the differences?
Oh, that's a great question. I think what we tend to see is that whatever trends are happening in human health start to trickle into pet. So nutrition trends, we'll see a lot of people having a point of view on what their pet should be eating, organic, raw, et cetera, based on maybe perceptions that they have about their own diets. One thing that's really interesting, is the proportion of pets that are obese is almost identical to Americans that are overweight and obese in the United States. So there's something just interesting about how they are showing up like members of our family. And a lot of things that humans see in terms of taking care of themselves, they will project onto their pets, for right or for wrong. From a healthcare perspective, one glaring thing that's different, and I think is actually really hard, is pet insurance and insurance in general. Only about 3% of Americans have pet insurance. So when they come in and they want a very high standard of care for their pets, there's a price tag that comes along with that is sometimes shocking to people. And because in their experience for their own health, they've got insurance that's subsidizing some of that expense. So that difference is really stark, and it's sobering. And we're doing a lot to try to make sure that our care is accessible and that we have options for people so that they can get their pet the care that they expect to give them.
And do you have other campaigns or initiatives that are linked to these seasonal moments? I mean, you mentioned in springtime, maybe there's fleas and ticks, other moments where people should be concerned about something. I know in a lot of our work, like we have, we've done everything from I think creating doggy date night for Milkbone, which is the night that you go on a date with your dog prior to Valentine's Day for your furry soulmate that you go out with, to, I think we created, National Fetch Day for the Chuck It toy, because that's the day to play fetch with your dog. Do you ever use these kind of moments or these anchored to seasonal drive periods where you want to bring awareness to a certain issue?
Yeah, sometimes we do. I think, we're doing something really fun in Q4 where there's no actual promotion in terms of getting a visit into the vet, but it's all around looking at the gift of wellness. And that's like that season where you're with your loved ones and you want your loved one to be with you as long as possible, and you want to enjoy that time together. One of the things that we're going through we're providing all types of content to support people through the holiday with their pets. But the other thing that we're doing is a sweepstakes for a dream vacation for you and your pet. And it's basically anywhere you want to go. If you want to fly, if you want to go to the mountains, if you want to go to the beach, we will organize the perfect pet getaway for you and your pet to go have a dream vacation to honor those moments of joy together. So there's a lot of that we are starting to lean into to help position the brand as being a partner in your pet's overall well-being, in addition to your primary care provider.
I see. Well, and do you think about this notion of content? And I know you said you're involved in search. I don't know if that is all SEM or paid search, or I imagine you're doing a lot of organic content also. How do you think about content, thought leadership, particularly because search, especially in moment of crisis or something else, is important to you? Do you have a content program, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we do have a content program, and we're building it slowly but surely. I mean, my one of my dreams for this brand is to be of service to the pet owner and providing their pet with the absolute best care possible. And sometimes that's going to be related to a veterinarian. There's a high level of trust of veterinarians in this field. So we do have a lot of expertise and thought leadership and credibility that we can provide to pet owners with regards to the care for their pet. But I think there's other things. We see a lot of searches for stimulation activities for my pet, right? Anxiety for my pet. So there's a lot of things around pet behavior and the lifestyle of owning a pet where people are searching, and we are building content to be there for them in that moment of need. So when I think about our digital presence overall, be it our app, be it our website, be it even our paid advertising, my hope for this brand is that we're showing up in an act of service to you, not in an act of trying to sell you on something, but in an act of showing up and giving you information, insight, smiles, maybe sometimes tears that help enrich your life with your pet. And so we do have our content publishing that we're running on our website to support SEO, in particular local SEO. We've got our content strategy for social media that's really about engaging pet owners, but also giving pet owners insight to the back, like what happens in the veterinarians when you take my pet to the back. And so people can see what's happening there and the type of care that they're getting. we've got, like I said, the contest that we're running, but it really is about how do we show up and be of service in as many ways as possible.
And what do you find is the most challenging marketing sort of blocker that you have to overcome? What gets in the way of either getting your message out or reaching the right consumer, or other marketing challenges?
I think that because healthcare and health services is such a different beast from consumer packaged goods or retail, um, you know, I can't make pets sick, nor would I want to, right, to generate demand. So it's so much more nuanced in terms of the immediate gratification. So I think the challenge is, and particularly like when I'm working with my ops and my finance folks, is we've got all the same demands that any other business has in terms of getting bookings and getting appointments and making sure our doctors are busy and all of that. While it's the immediate demand of the lower funnel, while you're trying to brand build and be relevant and of service to people, knowing that in the long run, that's going to funnel your clients. So that's a very big challenge, I think, in terms of finding the balance to that and saying, how do I, if I'm building this over time, show the value of that when I've got, next quarter deliverables that we need to be able to meet, and how are we making sure that we're using our resources appropriately to hit both of those?
Well, and what do you draw upon? I'm just kind of looking over your background. You spent more than 6 years at General Mills, classic CPG, consumer packaged goods company. What do you take from that General Mills experience that you use now?
Gosh, a lot. A lot. I think the first is just the depth of understanding of the consumer and insights and emotional relevance. So what is it and how are we really truly being of service? What is the emotional benefit of what we're doing? It's not just what's in the box. It's not just what's in the cup. There is a bigger benefit that this brand is delivering, and how do we manifest that across multiple touch points? So I take that and I can see it and apply it into this space very readily, all the way down to the way that we are crafting our emails, the collateral that we have. Everything is an experience, and how do you make that work as hard as you can? I think that the other bits from General Mills, it's such, packaged goods in general is just such a playground for, or a powerhouse with regards to performance. So I take with me a very good sense of the overarching business, the P&L, how all of the pieces and the parts work together, and the role that marketing plays. So it was very, very helpful for me working in that context, because it worked very closely with finance and looking at, here's what we are doing. How do we tie that back, first degree, second degree, 6 degrees of separation, to performance on the business, and translate marketing into finance language? I think that's incredibly important. I find that it tends to be a little bit of a gap in marketing, at least in some folks that I'm working with, is to say, can you sit down with the CFO and have an intelligent conversation about the work that the team is doing and showcase the impact on the business? So both of those things I got to practice while I was at General Mills, and I find them to be incredibly helpful where I'm at now.
And what about something, you spent also a long time, a number of years at Best Buy. What do you take from Best Buy that you can apply now, either on the in-store side or the digital side?
Yeah, try things. Best Buy was like, try it, go, learn, be smart, learn, and then when it works, scale it. So at Best Buy, at that time I was there was an awful lot of innovation. There was an awful lot of trial. We could very, very quickly we tested new credit card, tested new loyalty programs, scale it. Test a new store format, scale it. So that test and learn mentality, and lock in on an insight and go try something, learn and apply. That's what I learned there. And I always like to say that Best Buy made me brave, and General Mills made me excellent. And I think it was in a really good order. I could go and learn, create a growth mindset, how to learn, and then go to a place like General Mills to practice that and hone it. And then come out into the world and apply it for other businesses.
Well, and then finally, this isn't your first CMO role. You were CMO at Self-Esteem Brands, which is maybe more known from the maybe kind of consumer-facing brands, that including Anytime Fitness or the Bar Method or Basecamp Fitness, obviously in the sort of fitness space. What do you take from that? What does that inform you now, that experience?
Yeah, that was, in those businesses in particular, because both the gym business and the beauty business, and then even veterinary services to a degree, all of them are service businesses. And the difference to me, and it's kind of hit me very profoundly, is that when the thing that you are marketing is the skills that people have and not a retail location, not a box on a shelf, it's a very different approach in terms of the hearts and minds of those people have to be on your side. So the brand for me at Anytime Fitness, and then even Bar Method, all the others, there are people delivering those services that have very, very deep-seated beliefs about what they do, why they do it, and what's important. And as you're trying to grow or evolve the brand, if those people aren't along for the ride with you, everything stops. And so now, even here where we're at, a very large portion of my time is thinking about employer brand and thinking about what is the culture, what is the value proposition for our team members and our veterinarians, because that is going to be the brand experience that our customers have.
You think so? Your point is that in a service-oriented brand, your product is the people.
It's people.
It is the service,
Yes.
and so you can't have a marketing positioning or approach or message that is like devoid of what the people feel and experience, or else it will not match everything you're trying to communicate. If you have, like, I don't know, I'll simplify, a super joyful campaign and the people in your company are not that joyful in how they do it, then it won't feel authentic and it won't work.
It flat out won't work, because the experience that people have will not match. And I mean, advertising, I used to work with a man at Best Buy, Robert Stevens, and he always says this, and I agree with him. He's like, advertising is the tax you pay for being unremarkable. And for me, the start of that is the experience. And in a services context, and when you have service providers that are highly intelligent, highly credible, and have strong beliefs, as a marketer, it would be foolish for me to come in and lay out some big brand strategy if I need to co-create it with them. One, because of course I want them bought in, but two, they have an innate understanding of something that's really important to the success of this business that I need to be able to bottle up and capture and then communicate. So even as we've put this brand together, a lot of it was based on insights of the way that the people in the field practice and how they see themselves and how they see themselves adding value to the client, and then going and marrying that against where client needs are and bringing it all together.
And how much do you do, and how much do you think about doing this in-house versus other agencies, other things that you do externally? Are you a believer in sort of marketing teams that are in-house, or more focus on your core areas, specialize, get experts or specialists in other areas?
I think it's a hybrid of both. I think there's some things, depending on the company, that's incredibly important to have internal resources for. I think there's other things it's helpful to go get external expertise on. So, for instance, we don't have huge media budgets. It doesn't make sense for me to have a media team on site running that. I just don't do that kind of volume. So I do work with an agency, and I look for agency support to bring that expertise with regards to digital paid media. On the other hand, SEO is incredibly important to us. So we do have people here that are dedicated to content and to SEO, and we tap into specialists to help us identify these kind of strange Google puzzles that we run into to say, how do we extend beyond that? But we do have dedicated resources to build that up. So I really do think it depends on the business, and it depends on the role that marketing is playing. And then you can, I like having the things that are strategically important to the business embedded in the business, and then going out for expertise in those areas that are more episodic and or maybe just programmatic, like a certain amount of time to stand up a capability, you need the support, and then you can bring it in-house.
I see. Okay. Well, and where would you like to be? How would you like to be marketing differently in 3 years? Where is this all headed? What capabilities would you have? What marketing trends, from particular channels to generative AI. What would you like to be doing in 3 years from now that you're not doing right now?
Yeah, so much more. I mean, I think the consumer is going to continually get more savvy when it comes to the care for their pet. And I think that businesses that are out there with a point of view of being in service to their clients are going to win. So in that regard, I'd very much like to continue to evolve our digital channels to be more of service and to be creating experiences that are going to help our pet parents be savvier on the pet healthcare front. So that other interesting thing about our company, we own our own practice management software. It's called VetSpire. And one of the things that we're working on in that product is the use of AI and experimenting all the way from administrative use to help our practices or help veterinary practices be more efficient in the way that they deliver or run their day, to how can we use AI to diagnose diseases? How can we use AI to serve as physicians' assistants by looking at all of the labs that are coming in, all of the diagnostic reads, and provide differentials or options to help the veterinarian? Once we start kind of lock in on that, what does that mean for what the consumer might be able to see? If I can go into my app and put in some things and say, hey, what you're telling us points us to you need to get in to see your veterinarian right away. And so I just think that there's all this opportunity with AI in terms of being of service to people. From a pure marketing perspective, I'm very excited about what we could do with creative in AI and how we can just become more efficient and more prolific. I'm very excited about what we can do with data and analytics in AI, how we can get smarter about how our campaigns are performing and make tweaks in real time. I would say, and I wouldn't even claim to say that we've cracked the code on any of this, very much aware of all the potential pitfalls, and we're very, very slowly tipping our toes in to learn about it. But I just think the potential is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm very excited about the space evolving and seeing where it can take us.
And final question for you is, what other marketers, CMOs, or brands do you admire? Do you look to? Who else do you think does this really well? Are there others that you draw upon for inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite brands are the brands that are in my life every day, right? So the brands that show up and are actually of service to me. So Amazon is one of my favorite brands. I think the way that Amazon shows up in the spirit of service and saying, what problems can I solve for you? And introducing new products, new categories, even if it's not like readily analogous, I think it's very, very interesting. So that dedication to solving customers' problems and showing up for the customer at the end of the day, I really admire in Amazon. So they're a brand that I admire. I am a big fan of Peloton. And I know they've got like troubles that they're kind of working through, and I'm really, really rooting for them. But I absolutely love the experience that they've created and this notion of being connected to a broader community when I am still kind of just in my house pedaling away. And the way that they've made fitness very, very accessible and driven so much success for like human beings having real success using that platform. I think is really interesting. Again, that's what platform where you could see all kinds of opportunity with AI and with data and wearables and connectivity. So I'm really excited to see what they end up doing. Other brands that I admire, it's really good. Oh my gosh. Okay. Texans. I just moved to Texas. Are you familiar with Buc-ee's? Do you know Buc-ee's?
I do know Buc-ee's. Yes.
Have you been to a Buc-ee's?
I have. It's been a while, but yes, absolutely.
It's one of those that you hear people talk about it. You're like, whatever, it's a gas station, but then you show up and you get it. So that one I really admire because it delivers a very surprising experience for you. And they are all in and committed to delivering a really great experience.
Yeah, and of course, there's a little kind of beaver icon that it's kind of known for. It's like kind of convenience store, clean bathrooms on the side of the road. I haven't heard you enjoy it. You enjoy the brand.
Oh, I love it so much. And I have a friend he was in Indiana for a while, and he said that he saw a Buc-ee's billboard in Indiana that said next Buc-ee's, 650 miles away. And so like even the way that they go out there, they have kind of this cult following, and it's one of those, if you know, you know. And then they show up in these really surprising places around the country to remind people of the brand and what a great experience you have. So I guess the thing tying all of these together is these are all very experiential brands. And I admire that very much. And I try to take cues from what those folks are doing to say, how can we create a really compelling experience for our clients, whether or not they're in our four walls? And what does that look like? And how can we be of service to them?
And maybe that the experience with the brand starts with the marketing, but continues on through the whole process. So however they interact with you, the experience begins, and you're either creating positive experience or negative experience, even when that first touch point, even the marketing, and they're not even a customer yet.
Yes, absolutely. That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Amy Halford, CMO of Thrive Pet Healthcare. Thank you so much for joining us on Top CMO. Thank
you for having me. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
This amazing episode was brought to you by Top Thought Leader. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.